You're sitting across from someone you care about, maybe a friend, a partner, a therapist, and they ask you a simple question. How do you feel about that? And suddenly, your mind goes blank. Not because you don't feel anything. You do feel something. You feel it intensely. It's right there in your chest, in your throat, in the knot in your stomach. But when you try to find the words to describe it, it's like reaching into fog. The feeling is real, but the language, it's just gone. So you say something vague, I don't know. I'm fine. It's complicated. And the person across from you might look confused, maybe even frustrated. They want to understand. You want them to understand. But you genuinely cannot find the words. If this sounds familiar, you're not alone. And more importantly, you're not broken. Some people can describe their emotions with incredible precision. They have a whole vocabulary for their inner world. I'm feeling melancholic with a touch of nostalgia, or I'm experiencing anticipatory anxiety mixed with excitement. Meanwhile, you're over here like, I feel bad, maybe, I don't know. And here's what's frustrating. It's not that you're emotionally unintelligent. It's not that you're repressing your feelings or avoiding them. It's that there's a gap, a disconnect between what you feel and your ability to translate that feeling into language. Today, we're going to explore why this happens. We're going to talk about the neuroscience of emotions, the psychology of language, and why some brains are just wired differently when it comes to emotional expression. And most importantly, I'm going to give you tools to bridge that gap, not to force yourself to be someone you're not, but to help you access and communicate your inner world when you want to. Because understanding why you struggle with this, that's the first step to making it easier. Let's dive in. First, let's reframe what's happening here. When you can't put your feelings into words, the problem isn't that you don't have feelings. The problem is that your brain is processing emotions and language in different systems, and those systems aren't always talking to each other. Your emotions live primarily in the limbic system, the older, more primitive part of your brain. This is where you experience fear, joy, sadness, anger, love. It's fast, it's visceral, it's body-based. When you feel something, your limbic system is lighting up like a Christmas tree. But language lives in your cortex, specifically areas like Broca's area and Wernicke's area. This is the newer, more evolved part of your brain. It's where you analyze, categorize, and articulate thoughts. Here's the thing. Emotions don't come with labels. They come as sensations, impulses, energy. Your body feels them first. Your heart races, your stomach drops, your muscles tense. But those sensations don't automatically translate into words like anxiety or grief or frustration. That translation process, that's a skill. And for some people, the bridge between the limbic system and the language centers is narrow, fragile, or just not well developed. This isn't a character flaw. It's neurodiversity. It's how your particular brain is wired. And there's even a name for it. The clinical term for difficulty identifying and describing emotions is alexithymia. It comes from Greek, awith, lexis, words, thymos, emotions. Literally, without words for emotions. Alexithymia exists on a spectrum. Some people have severe alexithymia. They genuinely cannot distinguish between different emotional states. Others have mild alexithymia. They can feel emotions but struggle to name them or describe them in detail. Research suggests that about 10% of the population has some degree of alexithymia. And it's more common in people who are autistic, have ADHD, experience childhood trauma, or grew up in environments where emotions weren't talked about. But here's what's important. Alexithymia isn't a disorder. It's a trait. It's a difference in how your brain processes and communicates emotional information. Let's talk about what's actually happening in your brain. The emotion-language gap. When you experience an emotion, here's what your brain does. Step 1. The limbic system reacts. You feel something, a surge of anger, a wave of sadness, a flutter of excitement. This is immediate, automatic, body-based. Step 2. The insula registers the feeling. The insula is a part of your brain that creates interoceptive awareness, the ability to sense what's happening inside your body. It's what lets you know, my heart is racing, or my chest feels tight. Step 3. The prefrontal cortex tries to make sense of it. Your thinking brain asks, what is this feeling? What caused it? What does it mean? Step 4. Language areas label the feeling. Your brain searches for the right word. Anxiety, anger, sadness, excitement. This is where the translation happens. For some people, this process is seamless. The feeling arises, the brain names it, and boom, they can say, I'm feeling anxious because I'm worried about tomorrow's meeting. But for others, something breaks down in this chain. Maybe your insula isn't giving you clear signals about what's happening in your body. Your prefrontal cortex can't distinguish between similar emotions, anger versus frustration, sadness versus disappointment. Your language centers don't have a rich enough vocabulary for emotions. The connection between your limbic system and your cortex is weak, so the feeling stays locked in your body and never makes it to your conscious awareness. And here's the kicker. If you didn't grow up in an environment where emotions were named, discussed, and validated, your brain never learned to build that bridge. There's a concept in psychology called emotional granularity. It refers to how precisely you can differentiate and label your emotions. People with high emotional granularity can distinguish between dozens of emotional states: irritation, frustration, resentment, bitterness, indignation. They experience emotions in high definition. People with low emotional granularity experience emotions more like blobs. I feel bad. I feel good. I feel stressed. Everything gets lumped into a few broad categories. And here's the thing. Emotional granularity is learned. If you grew up in a household where people said things like, I'm feeling overwhelmed and a little resentful because I've been doing too much without asking for help, you learn to name emotions with precision. But if you grew up in a household where emotions were either ignored or expressed only through action, anger equals yelling, sadness equals withdrawal, you never learn the vocabulary. Your brain doesn't have the filing system. So when someone asks, how do you feel? Your brain just shrugs. You might be thinking, okay, so I struggle to name my emotions. So what? Why does it matter? Here's why it matters. 1. You can't regulate what you can't name. Emotions are information. They're signals from your nervous system telling you what you need. If you can't identify what you're feeling, you can't respond appropriately. You can't say, I'm feeling anxious, so I need to ground myself, or I'm feeling lonely, so I need connection. Instead, you just feel bad, and you don't know what to do about it. 2. It creates distance in relationships. When you can't communicate your feelings, the people around you feel shut out. They want to support you, but they don't know how. They might think you don't trust them, or that you don't care, or that you're emotionally unavailable. But it's not that you don't want to share, it's that you literally don't have access to the words. 3. It keeps you stuck. If you can't name what you're feeling, you can't process it, you can't work through it. The emotion just sits in your body, unresolved, creating tension, anxiety, or numbness. Naming your emotions is the first step to healing them. So how do you bridge the gap between feeling and language? Here are some tools. Tool 1. Start with body sensations. If you can't name the emotion, start with what you can feel in your body. Ask yourself, where do I feel this in my body? What does it feel like? Tight, heavy, hot, cold, sharp, dull, fluttery, numb? Is it moving or still? Is it big or small? You don't need to know what the emotion is. You just need to notice what it feels like. For example, I feel tightness in my chest and my stomach feels heavy. That's data. That's a starting point. Over time, you'll start to notice patterns. Oh, tightness in my chest usually means I'm anxious. Heaviness in my stomach usually means I'm sad. Tool 2. Use an emotion wheel. An emotion wheel is a tool that shows emotions organized by intensity and category. It starts with basic emotions in the center, like sad, angry, happy, and then branches out into more specific emotions. When someone asks how you feel, look at the wheel. Start with the broad category that feels closest. I think I'm in the sad family. Then move outward. Actually, maybe it's more like disappointed or discouraged. You're not forcing yourself to know the answer. You're exploring possibilities until something clicks. Tool 3. Try sentence stems. Sometimes you need a framework to guide your thoughts. Try completing these sentences. If I had to guess, I think I'm feeling. The situation that triggered this was. If this feeling had a color, shape, temperature, it would be. What I need right now is. These prompts bypass your thinking brain and let your intuition speak. Tool 4. Write first, talk later. Some people find it easier to access their emotions through writing than through speaking. Try this. Set a timer for 5 minutes. Write without stopping, without editing, without judgment. Just let the words flow. You might not produce coherent sentences. You might just write fragments. Tired, overwhelmed, don't want to, heavy, stuck. That's okay. You're excavating. You're mining for the words buried under the fog. Once you've written, you can go back and look for patterns. Oh, I wrote overwhelmed 3 times. Maybe that's what I'm feeling. Tool 5. Use metaphors. If you can't find a literal word for your emotion, try a metaphor. I feel like I'm underwater. I feel like I'm carrying a heavy backpack. I feel like I'm standing on the edge of something. Metaphors can communicate what literal language can't. And often, once you land on a metaphor that feels right, the emotion becomes clearer. Tool 6. Practice emotional labeling daily. Emotional granularity is a skill you can build. Every day, check in with yourself and try to name one emotion you're feeling. Start simple. Right now, I'm feeling calm. Right now, I'm feeling irritated. Right now, I'm feeling tired. Over time, get more specific. Right now, I'm feeling a mix of anticipation and nervousness. Right now, I'm feeling content but also a little restless. You're training your brain to build the bridge between sensation and language. Tool 7. Ask for reflection. Sometimes the people around you can see what you can't. Try saying to someone you trust, I'm struggling to name what I'm feeling right now, but I'll describe what's happening, and maybe you can help me figure it out. Then describe the situation, your physical sensations, your thoughts. Let them offer possibilities. It sounds like you might be feeling frustrated, or maybe you're feeling disappointed. You're not outsourcing your emotional awareness. You're using external support to learn the language. A few important notes. If you have alexithymia linked to trauma, if you grew up in an environment where emotions were unsafe, where expressing feelings led to punishment, rejection, or danger, your brain may have learned to suppress emotional awareness as a survival mechanism. In this case, learning to name your emotions might feel threatening. Your nervous system might resist it. If this is true for you, please work with a trauma-informed therapist who can help you build safety first before exploring emotions. If you're autistic or have ADHD, autistic people and people with ADHD often experience emotions intensely, but struggle to identify or articulate them. This isn't a deficit, it's a difference in how your brain processes information. For you, tools like emotion wheels, body-based practices, and external reflection can be especially helpful. And remember, you don't owe anyone a perfect explanation of your feelings. I'm not sure, but I'll let you know when I figure it out, is a completely valid response. If you're experiencing alexithymia after trauma or stress, sometimes difficulty naming emotions is temporary. It can happen after a traumatic event, during periods of chronic stress, or when you're in burnout. Your brain is in survival mode, and language is a low priority. If this is you, be gentle with yourself. Your emotional awareness will likely return as you heal and regulate your nervous system. I want you to hear this. Struggling to put your feelings into words does not make you emotionally unintelligent. It doesn't mean you're emotionally immature, or that you're avoiding your feelings, or that you're a bad communicator. It just means your brain processes emotions differently, and that's okay. Emotions are complex. They're layered, they're messy. Even people who are good with words struggle sometimes. Even therapists, who are trained in this stuff, sometimes sit with a feeling and think, I have no idea what this is. You're not failing. You're learning. And here's the beautiful thing. The more you practice, the easier it gets. Not because you're forcing yourself to be someone you're not, but because you're building the neural pathways that connect feeling to language. You're teaching your brain a new skill. And yes, it's frustrating. Yes, it's slow. Yes, it's vulnerable. But it's worth it. Because when you can name what you feel, you reclaim your power. You can communicate your needs. You can process your emotions. You can connect with the people you love in deeper, more authentic ways. You're not broken. You're just learning a language you were never taught. So here's what I want you to take away from this. If you struggle to name your emotions, it's not a character flaw. It's a difference in how your brain is wired, a difference that's influenced by genetics, neurodiversity, upbringing, and life experience. The gap between feeling and language is real, but it's also bridgeable. Start with your body. Notice sensations. Use tools like emotion wheels, sentence stems, metaphors, and writing. Practice daily. Ask for help when you need it. And above all, be patient with yourself. Emotional granularity is a skill, not a talent. And like any skill, it gets better with practice. You don't have to be fluent in the language of emotions overnight. You just have to be willing to start learning. If you found this helpful, and if you want to keep exploring topics like this psychology, self-awareness, personal growth, make sure you're subscribed. We're building a community of thoughtful people who want to understand themselves better. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. And remember, your feelings are valid, even if you don't have the words for them yet. I'll see you in the next video.